Welcome back to Marketplace. This next segment is sponsored by Abundant Faith Christian Center. So today's topic for Life on Purpose is the reason for the season. Get into that a little bit, but of course, Trey from Abundant Faith Christian Center is here, back on Marketplace for Life on Purpose. You guys just finished your second conference, Trey, a service conference. So tell me a little bit about that youth conference.
Yeah, so the youth conference that we did, like you said, it was 2 services. It started at 3, and we wanted to make sure that we invited from all around Springfield, not just for Abundant Faith or not just for this church or that church, but every youth group, all the schools. So we have a group of kids, right? I feel like one of the goals that God had behind this youth conference is for us in Springfield to break down some racial barriers, some political barriers, and even some church barriers, right? Just come together because God is coming back for, or Jesus isn't coming back for one specific church, he's coming back for his church. I feel like God just wants the communities to come together and just have a night where they worship him together because, man, that unity really is powerful and God really shows up. And he did that this weekend through the youth conference because I saw kids in both services at the altar crying, receiving healing, praying, maybe even for the first time, their hands in worship and just really going after God in maybe a way they hadn't before. So I really feel like God really, he really moved in some youth life this weekend.
And I think that we've always said, you know, it doesn't really matter how old you are to receive the word or to follow Christ. But I think when you're doing it at a young age, it kind of helps you through the journey when you're an adult, because once you hit 18 and up, you know, the journey doesn't stop.
Right.
Like, you're still going through life and you still need some biblical context and some to help you through.
Absolutely.
Yes. And speaking of Jesus and faith and all the things, you know, it's Christmas, but if you break that word, it's Christmas, right? And so, of course, it is when we celebrate the birth of Christ. Kind of go through the biblical context of Christ and what that meant not only for, you know, folks back then, but what that means for us now.
Absolutely. So when I think about the birth of Jesus, you go back to biblical times, right? Before Jesus, it was just them and God. And even if you weren't with God, people were kind of doing their own things. Either they had idols or, you know, kind of depending on their own faith. So God is like, okay, I need to send a mediator, somebody on my behalf to go down on earth in the flesh. That's me, but can kind of be the in-between person, right? Can advocate for the humans because the Bible says, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. So the birth of Jesus was basically to give somebody, just give us that. Somebody that could come down and give us access to the Father, give us access to heaven, and give us access to salvation. And I feel like it's the same thing today. You know, we can't go to the Father. The Bible's very clear without Jesus. Jesus, everything was created by Jesus and for Jesus, and that's the beauty of it all. That baby boy that was born, that we're celebrating, right, coming up, is the perfect gift because he's the gift that gives us hope. He's the gift that gives us life, truth, and the gift that gives us salvation.
And I think around this time, you know, it's getting cold and we don't have snow, which I'm actually happy about. But, you know, this is a season where the plants die, the trees die. It's cold outside. You want to stay indoors. This is a time where people kind of lose hope. And they get attacked, you know, the spiritual attacks of seasonal depression, hopelessness, you know, loneliness. And what do you say about that? How can we still maneuver in our lives through those attacks and kind of overcoming those?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so crazy how everything's tying together. So at the youth conference, basically, I wasn't thinking about Christmas or anything when I preached, but my message was trying to get the youth to understand that they have to fix their eyes on Jesus, right? Everything begins. Everything starts when you fix your eyes on Jesus, when you fix your focus on him.
Now, guys, what you saw is just a clip from the entire conversation of our Life on Purpose segment. You can always watch the full interview on newschannel20.com. In the meantime, head over to Abundant Faith Christian Center's website or check out the many different locations to learn how to get involved.